Black turtleneck, blonde hair pulled back, deep baritone voice. She looked like Steve Jobs, talked like Steve Jobs, acted like Steve Jobs. Elizabeth Holmes, 19 years old when she dropped out of Stanford, started a blood testing company, Theranos. Her pitch? One drop of blood from a finger prick could run 250 different tests, cancer, diabetes, everything, instantly, cheaply. By 29, she was a billionaire, $9 billion on paper, magazine covers everywhere, Forbes, Fortune, Glamour, Henry Kissinger on her board, James Mattis, George Shultz, the youngest self-made female billionaire in America. Then in 2015, a Wall Street Journal reporter asked one question: does the technology actually work? Within 3 years, Theranos was dead. Elizabeth was indicted November 2022, convicted of fraud, 11 years in prison. Her net worth, zero, from Stanford dropout to billionaire to prisoner, and the entire time, the machine never worked, not once. Elizabeth Ann Holmes, born February 3, 1984, Washington, D.C. Her father worked for Enron. Yeah, that Enron, the massive energy fraud company. Maybe it's in the DNA. Elizabeth was smart, real smart, obsessed with inventors, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs. She wanted to change the world. At 7 years old, she filled a journal with drawings of time machines and inventions. "I don't want to be a billionaire," she wrote. "I want to change the way we live." High school. She learned Mandarin Chinese, straight-A student, sold C++ compilers to Chinese universities during summer break. At 18, she got into Stanford, chemical engineering. Her freshman year, she started working in a lab, gene therapy research. Then she had an idea. What if you could test for diseases with just a drop of blood? From a finger prick? No needles, no vials, just a tiny pinprick. Fast, cheap, convenient. She pitched the idea to her professor. He said it was interesting but probably impossible. Elizabeth didn't care. Spring of 2003, age 19. She dropped out of Stanford, used her tuition money to start a company, Theranos, therapy plus diagnosis. She was going to revolutionize healthcare, or so she thought. Summer of 2002. Before she started Theranos, Elizabeth was 18, still in high school, about to start Stanford. She went to Beijing for a Mandarin language program. That's where she met him, Ramesh Balwani. Everyone called him Sonny. He was 37 years old, nearly 20 years older than her, married to a Japanese artist. But he saw something in Elizabeth, this driven, ambitious teenage girl. Sonny had money. He'd sold a software company for $40 million during the dot-com boom. He became her mentor. They talked on the phone for hours, about business, about success, about ambition. Elizabeth idolized him. When she started Theranos in 2003, Sonny invested, gave her advice. And somewhere along the way, their relationship turned romantic. Elizabeth was 19, Sonny was 38. They kept it secret. For years, Elizabeth lived with Sonny. Nobody at Theranos knew they were together, not the investors, not the board, nobody. Sonny pushed her, told her she needed to kill the old Elizabeth, become harder, tougher, more focused. Stop acting like a girl, he'd say. Act like a CEO. Elizabeth listened, and she started changing. The black turtleneck, the deep voice, the intense stare. She was becoming someone else. Elizabeth had a vision, a small device, called it the Edison, after Thomas Edison. You'd prick your finger, one drop of blood. The Edison would run 250 different tests, cancer, HIV, diabetes, cholesterol, everything. Results in minutes, cost pennies, no more going to a lab, no more waiting days for results. Healthcare would be revolutionized. There was just one problem. The technology didn't work. It was impossible. Lab scientists knew it. You can't run 250 tests on one drop of blood. But Elizabeth didn't care about what was possible. She cared about what sounded good. In 2004, she started pitching investors. Her story was perfect. Stanford dropout. Brilliant young woman in a male-dominated industry, trying to save lives. She'd wear the black turtleneck, lower her voice, stare intensely, never blink. Investors ate it up. Don't Walton family invested. Walmart heirs, Rupert Murdoch, media mogul, $125 million. Larry Ellison, Oracle founder, invested millions. Betsy DeVos family, future Secretary of Education, they all believed. Elizabeth was raising hundreds of millions. By 2009, Sunny Balwani joined Theranos officially, Chief Operating Officer. Together they ran the company, and together they lied about everything. Elizabeth didn't just get investors, she got powerful people who could give her credibility. Her board of directors looked like a presidential cabinet. George Shultz, former Secretary of State under Reagan, Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State under Nixon and Ford, William Perry, former Secretary of Defense, Sam Nunn, former U.S. Senator, James Mattis, retired four-star Marine General, future Secretary of Defense, Bill Frist, former Senate Majority Leader, a doctor. These weren't tech people, they were government insiders, war heroes, political legends, and Elizabeth convinced all of them. Mattis was so impressed, he tried to get Theranos blood tests used in combat zones, Afghanistan, Iraq. He testified later at her trial. "I was deceived," he said. "She lied to me." But at the time, everyone believed her. The board gave her legitimacy. When investors asked, "Is this real?" Elizabeth would point to Kissinger, to Mattis, to Shultz. Would these men be on my board if this was fake? It worked. By 2014, Theranos was valued at $9 billion. Elizabeth owned half, $4.5 billion. She was 29 years old. Forbes called her the youngest self-made female billionaire in America. Magazine covers everywhere. Comparisons to Steve Jobs, the future of healthcare. Except the machine still didn't work. Elizabeth didn't just get investors, she got powerful people who could give her credibility. Her board of directors looked like a presidential cabinet. George Shultz, former Secretary of State under Reagan, Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State under Nixon and Ford, William Perry, former Secretary of Defense, Sam Nunn, former U.S. Senator, James Mattis, retired four-star Marine General, future Secretary of Defense, Bill Frist, former Senate Majority Leader, a doctor. These weren't tech people, they were government insiders, war heroes, political legends, and Elizabeth convinced all of them. Mattis was so impressed, he tried to get Theranos blood tests used in combat zones, Afghanistan, Iraq. He testified later at her trial. "I was deceived," he said. "She lied to me." But at the time, everyone believed her. The board gave her legitimacy. When investors asked, "Is this real?" Elizabeth would point to Kissinger, to Mattis, to Shultz. Would these men be on my board if this was fake? It worked. By 2014, Theranos was valued at $9 billion. Elizabeth owned half, $4.5 billion. She was 29 years old. Forbes called her the youngest self-made female billionaire in America. Magazine covers everywhere. Comparisons to Steve Jobs, the future of healthcare. Except the machine still didn't work. October 15, 2015, John Carreyrou, Wall Street Journal reporter, publishes an investigation. Hot startup Theranos has struggled with its blood test technology. The article exposes everything. The Edison doesn't work. Tests are inaccurate. Theranos uses other companies' machines. Patients were getting wrong results, wrong diagnoses, wrong treatments. Elizabeth's response, denial. She goes on CNBC, Mad Money with Jim Cramer, wearing the black turtleneck, deep voice, intense stare. "This is what happens when you work to change things," she says. "First they think you're crazy, then they fight you. But we're right, and history will prove it." Cramer believes her, defends her on air. Then more articles come. The FDA investigates, finds major problems. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, same thing, dangerous deficiencies. Walgreens terminates their partnership. Theranos had a deal to put blood testing kiosks in 40 Walgreens stores. Gone. Investors start asking questions. Elizabeth doubles down. She fires anyone who questions her, threatens lawsuits, hires more lawyers. But the walls are closing in. January 2016. Theranos voids 2 years of blood test results, admits the tests were wrong. Patients got bad information, some got misdiagnosed. People could have died. That's when Sunny Balwani left the company. After 13 years together, he just disappeared. Elizabeth was alone. March 14, 2018. The SEC charges Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani with massive fraud, $700 million raised through lies. Elizabeth settles immediately, pays a $500,000 fine, returns her shares, steps down as CEO, banned from being a director of any public company for 10 years, but she keeps control of Theranos, stays as chairman. June 14, 2018, federal criminal charges, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. Elizabeth is indicted, so is Sunny. They both plead not guilty. September. Theranos officially shuts down. The company that was once worth $9 billion? Dead. Employees laid off, offices closed, assets sold. Forbes revises Elizabeth's net worth from $4.5 billion to zero, just like that. August 2021, the trial begins. Elizabeth walks into federal court in San Jose. No black turtleneck, a simple blazer, hair down, softer voice. The Steve Jobs persona? Gone. Now she's playing a different role. The victim. Her defense strategy? Blame Sunny Balwani. Elizabeth testifies for 7 days. She cries on the stand. Sunny abused me, she says, controlled me, manipulated me. He told me to lie to investors. I was scared of him. She claims he raped her, forced her to have sex, threw objects at her, controlled her diet, her sleep, her clothes. Prosecutors aren't buying it. January 3rd, 2022. After 4 months of trial, nearly 400 hours of testimony, the jury reaches a verdict: guilty, 4 counts, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. She defrauded investors out of $140 million. The jury acquits her on charges related to patients. They couldn't prove she intended to harm patients, just investors, but that's enough. Elizabeth faces up to 20 years in prison per count, 80 years total. November 18, 2022, sentencing day. Elizabeth stands before the judge, pregnant with her second child, trying to delay prison. I'm so sorry, she says, tears streaming down her face. I loved Theranos. It was my life's work. I gave everything. I regret my failings with every cell of my body. The judge isn't moved. This was not a case of a young entrepreneur who tried hard and failed, he says. This was intentional fraud. Sentence: 11 years and 3 months in federal prison, plus $452 million in restitution shared with Sunny Balwani. Elizabeth is ordered to report to prison April 27, 2023. She appeals, tries to delay, denied. May 30, 2023. Elizabeth Holmes walks into federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas. Inmate number: her billionaire days are over. Sunny Balwani had his own trial, separate from Elizabeth. July 7th, 2022. Guilty on all 12 counts. 2 counts of conspiracy, 6 counts of defrauding investors, 4 counts of defrauding patients. Worse than Elizabeth. December 7th, 2022. Sentencing: 12 years and 11 months in federal prison. Longer than Elizabeth because he had experience. He'd run other companies before. The judge said he should have known better. April 20, 2023. Sunny surrenders to prison. Same day Elizabeth was supposed to report, she got a delay. He didn't. Now they're both locked up. The relationship that started when she was 18 and he was 37, it destroyed them both. Elizabeth claimed he abused her, controlled her, forced her to commit fraud. Sunny denied everything. In court documents, in interviews, he said none of it was true, but the jury didn't care about their relationship drama. They cared about the fraud. And both of them were guilty. Together, they owe $452 million to victims. Investors who lost their money believing in a fake technology. The funny thing? Neither of them will ever pay it. They have no money left. Theranos burned through everything. The victims get nothing. Elizabeth Holmes went from Stanford dropout to billionaire to prisoner, all built on a lie, one fake machine that never worked. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Silicon Valley let this happen. The fake it till you make it culture. Everyone knew deep down it sounded too good to be true, but they wanted to believe. A young female founder, in a male-dominated industry, trying to save lives. The narrative was perfect, so they ignored the red flags, no peer-reviewed studies, no published data, secretive company culture. Investors didn't ask hard questions, board members didn't have medical expertise, media wrote puff pieces without investigating, and patients paid the price. Wrong blood tests, wrong diagnoses, people's health at risk, all because Elizabeth wanted to be Steve Jobs. She wore the turtleneck, lowered her voice, stared intensely, and everyone bought it. The deep voice? Fake. She admitted it in a 2023 interview, used her normal higher voice. The turtleneck? Borrowed from Steve Jobs, even hired his designers. The intense stare? Calculated. She practiced not blinking. Everything was an act. But here's the real lesson. Elizabeth's not unique. Silicon Valley is full of people promising impossible things, disrupting industries they don't understand, selling visions that can't be built, and investors keep falling for it because they want the next Apple, the next Facebook, the next Tesla. They want to be early, so they ignore reality. Elizabeth Holmes is in prison now, 11 years. Her release date, December 2032. She'll be 48 years old. Her children will grow up without her. Her billions are gone. Her reputation destroyed. All for a machine that never worked. Now, if you want to go deeper on this story, there are 2 books I highly recommend. The first one is Bad Blood by John Carreyrou. He's the Wall Street Journal reporter who exposed Elizabeth. His book is incredible, goes into details nobody else could get. All the whistleblowers, the cover-ups, everything. The second is The Inventor documentary on HBO. Actual footage of Elizabeth, her voice, her mannerisms. You can see the act firsthand. Both are linked in the description if you're interested. I'm also mentioning a few other books down there about Silicon Valley frauds and tech scams. Theranos wasn't the first, won't be the last. If you're into this kind of content, those are worth checking out. Go read them, because the next Elizabeth Holmes is probably raising money right now, and nobody's asking the right questions.